information. Yes, and we got so many things going on. So this is the place where we can talk freely to our people on the underground scene. People got vices that no one wants to know nothing about. This is where we all can come and converge. Hey, Korea, this is what we can all do right here. But before I go on to today's show, let me go ahead and just tell everyone who's here. She's one of our more popular people, but she's been away for some time, and she's got some interesting things and projects going on. But she said, I'm going to try to make it back here, just for you people, just to get her feet wet and doing her thing. She's the queen of energy, and she's dominion of everything that's energy. Everything that's her dominion is anything but energy. She is a true soul flower. Everybody give it up. But Genergy. Oh goodness. She usually gets her customary little finger thing. Yeah, a little customary thing. And of course, this is the other person who's really part of the show. He's really truly the weirdo of the show, but he brings such flavor and mischief and mayhem to it, and we can't really get off without Hardy Brooklyn.
Thank you,
Hardy Brooklyn. And of course, I'm okay. Hey, Mary Raymond, she was at work at my school when I was from the 5th to 7th grade, and she's tuning in to Trip Over. Please don't tell everybody at the school at PS 189 that I got this type of show. I don't care if they know or not. But anyway, thanks for tuning in.
He really wants you to tell everybody.
Yeah, from everybody from my 5th to 7th grade, they can get to see what I aspire to be and what I am right now. So that's cool.
That's pretty cool you remember in 7th grade.
Well, I go back there for the reunions and stuff, alumni stuff. Go stick my head in there. Well, not in there, but
Was that two different schools?
Well, no, PS 189. You never went to a PS school?
Yeah, the 5th and 7th.
Well, from the 5th grade to 6th grade,
that's middle
7th grade,
school, sorry.
it's
I
all
was thinking about my school.
Yeah.
I had high and G line.
yeah. So yeah, that's really
I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, I think a lot of schools have those levels all in one spot that we go and find. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and start. I don't know. I'm gonna say that. Have you been watching the Aretha series? Have you watching the Aretha series?
I have, but
On
I'm
Hulu?
not that deep in yet. I'm only on like episode 3.
Okay. Well, in case for those that do have Hulu and have been watching the Aretha series, what it is, and it's also, I guess, sponsored by National Geographic. What it is it takes you through different periods of Aretha's life, where from when she was a young girl through those days to become a star, and dealing with her family, and so it really touches on period of her life. Like her first kid, she had at 12 years old.
Right.
She had her first kid at 12 years old, and I think she had her second kid, which was 14 years old. But the thing about it is, it doesn't tell you, like who's the father and whatnot. It doesn't touch on who the father is and stuff like that. So there's a lot of gray areas throughout the whole flick, and the Franklin family isn't supporting it.
I would imagine not. From what I've seen so far, it's not you don't want to see. You like the partying and the shit like with children, like you're walking around with your children.
Well, the thing about it is that, and I'm not going to C.L. Franklin, the Great Reverend C.L. Franklin, but the dude, honestly, historically, was into a lot of shit. He was into a lot of shit. I mean, the thing about it is that who's calling? Oh, I know I can't answer you right now on one phone. I know I can't. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Oh, goodness. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it.
You need to put on do not disturb.
Oh, I know. I'm gonna learn that next time. So anyway, anyway, going back to the show. The thing about it.
Something reference into.
Yeah, aside from the powerful voice he did, the dude was very manipulative. I mean, he kept Aretha out of school. He took her on, he took her on the road. Think about it, because he's a cash cow. He had multiple affairs. Despite being married, multiple affairs with women. He's known as a molester because he got another 12-year-old girl pregnant. He was a father of a 12-year-old girl. He got her pregnant.
Well, isn't he the grandfather of his child too?
Well, no. He's got a different person. He has a different 12-year-old girl. He got her pregnant. He got Aretha pregnant.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So
He got
his child. He's also the grandfather to his child.
No, he's the father. He's also
and grandfather.
Well, yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well,
that's
yeah.
fucked up.
Well, yeah, and the thing about it is that people say that's not true. What makes it true is that every child that Aretha had, she named it after after the father. Every child that she had, she named it after the father. Mm-hmm. So the first child that she had was named Clarence, Clarence is also her father's first name. So if you go ahead and do some research, you look on the comparisons of the two, they are splitting images of each other. Both of them are splitting images of each other. So it's what? Oh, there's years. Oh yeah. So aside from molestation, aside from the sex parties that he had at the house, parties that he had in the church, he was also arrested. What is going on? I got you, man. Aside from that, he was arrested for drug smuggling, drug trafficking in Miami. He was also there's a couple other things he got arrested for and stuff like that. So he's had a history. He's definitely had a history and stuff. And he's also was linked to his wife. He also got linked to his wife's murder, so to speak, because she left, and she told him, when I get my shit back together, I'm gonna send for the kids. But it just so happened at that time when she's getting ready to send for the kids, she dies. So he didn't want to get rid. He knows what he got in Aretha. So, so you can only be touching these peaches, man. But it's a good story in certain aspects of it. Everybody's fucking Aretha over throughout the whole course of her life. Jerry Wexler, they had a great long-standing relationship with each other musically, but he never wanted to give her production credit, like as a producer, because she's the one. She was the one who's really was doing all the work.
Yeah.
And
she definitely.
He never let her get it. Other than I think the last album they worked together. Well, I know that the gospel album was the only one that I know that they he gave her production credit on. And
he was afraid to go to hell.
Well, no, he just said, no, it's a gospel album. It'd be a shame. It'd be fucked up for him to take a gospel, produce a gospel album when he's never done it. And so it's like, yeah, but anyway, just check it out. And like I said, and then he died. He died how he lived. He died violently. Two dudes was coming to burglarize the spot, and then they had a shootout, and they got him. He got shot in the groin, and he got shot in the knee, and he went into a 5-year coma before they finally pulled the plug on him.
Wow.
So yeah,
Well, we have to pay for that, so.
Right. That's a long time to be in a coma.
I mean, but it's like, yo, how much longer do you want to do this? And on top of that, I mean, Rita had her shit too. Rita definitely had her shit too. Like one of the things in the movie on Sparkle, first, what's his name? What's the guy's name that got paralyzed? You're Pushing Man. What's his name? You're Pushing Man.
Oh,
Curtis Mayfield. Curtis Mayfield. He actually he put the soundtrack together, Sparkle. He originally asked Aretha, did she want to do something on it? And she said, nah, I'm kind of busy. So they asked Aretha's sister to do something, because she's always been doing backup. And a lot of times she did backup for Aretha. So then while Aretha was going through that downslide, her career was kind of going down, you know, he was like, yo, you know, you should let me, you know, produce. He said, she's looking for a producer. He's saying, well, you know, I'm still doing this project with, you know, Sparkle.
Like a comeback.
Yeah, you know, so, well, it's not a comeback. She needed something, she needed a fresher sound.
Yeah.
So so she thought about it, well, look, you know, I'll work with you, and at the same time, I'll do the song for you. And dude said, what about your sister? Rita was like, well, she'll get over it. Okay. So she took that song from her, and one of the songs was "Giving Him Something That He Can Feel." That was supposedly Aretha's sister, but she took the song and she did it. So you know, see some shit like that, but that's industry shit. That's fucking definitely industry shit. So on Hulu.
Everybody does that, man. It's not strictly reserved to class of people.
Well, yeah, but still, that's family. But you know, she really should have said something. Rita just straight up took it, like, and it wasn't until like years later, as per the story, that she finally said, "I'm sorry. I should what I did to you," and you know, and actually, she thought that she was going to win the Grammy that year, but Natalie Cole beat her out. And I know Rita didn't like that shit. But anyway, okay. Anyway. So yeah.
You know how hard I worked to get this song or to steal this song?
Yeah, man, that's fucked up. But you know, oh well, to each his own. But anyway, you definitely watch Preacher Men. Watch some Preacher Men and shit, man. They'll definitely get you fucked up. You know, you confessing your soul and your sins to them, and they'll preditate on you. You know, it's not a word, but they damn sure will definitely follow you. You know what I'm saying? So there's so much for that. What else is going on? Yeah. There are cities throughout the United States that are now going to be decriminalizing sex work, and you know, whether that's New York, Baltimore, a few places, and they're going, and it's a good thing, because one of the things about it is the majority of these cases are people of color, transgender, you know, people in that sector. So now they just can't just pick on one particular race and put them in jail for a certain amount of time. So just, you know, so what do you think about that?
I think a lot of places are not looking at it holistically enough, and they're not putting any protections in place for the workers. They're basically just legalizing it and saying you're on your own, baby, to protect yourself.
Probably, yeah. I guess you can say that. I wonder if they're going to be allowed. What are they going to be allowed to do precautions if they're going to allow them to do that? You know, are the spines going to be smaller? You're just not finding them at all. Are you gonna, you know, you make sure they have masks, you make sure they have rubbers, you know, I wonder what would be the criteria for them to protect themselves and protect their johns. I wonder what they're going to be doing.
Well, I think that they need to look at it really from protecting the worker.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all about right now, until now, the worker has been completely unprotected, and the way that most places are moving forward, the worker is still completely unprotected because they're not legalizing it, they're decriminalizing it.
Okay.
And it's still illegal pretty much on the federal level as well, just like weed is in a lot of places. So we have to take a step back, and we have to put places into like places where they can go work, where you're not risking taking a John to an alley or taking him back to your own apartment, where, you know, there's not somebody where you don't have the doorman of the building, where it's not a hotel or a specific facility where security is on the worker's side.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the places that it has worked in the world successfully are places where you go to a location where you're using their facility. They're not going back to your house. Maybe they might be able to leave the facility, but that's like for the super experienced workers. That's after you've seen that John or girl or guy or his or her for multiple times.
Okay.
You're protecting yourself.
Yeah.
Because this is still unfortunately, even those workers are not white males, it's still a white male world.
Mm.
And we have to protect those workers, because when that worker comes back to the white man's house, all of a sudden, something's missing from the house. What happens?
Yeah, but
So there's no protection in place for those people. We're creating a situation that could potentially end up being worse.
You know, that is also true. That's also true. Is there, so what if it was up to you, then how would you structure it?
I would legalize it, not decriminalize it.
Okay, so decriminalizing just means what, smaller fines, smaller?
Don't go to
Just,
jail
no,
for it.
decriminalizing means the DA doesn't prosecute. The
Okay,
law is still on the books, but the DA has opted not to prosecute.
okay,
In most of these situations is what they're doing, or they're basically passing laws to say, we'll look the other way if it's this or that. So what they need to do though is they need to make it, this is fully legal, this is a type of job.
mhm,
A sex worker is a type of job. A sex worker that does BDSM is a type of job.
mhm,
Because they're very different. Somebody that has sex with you is very different than
mhm.
somebody that is doing a fetish scene with you.
Okay.
Just like into, right.
And-
type of thing.
Correct. And those places, in order for that to work, we have to put rules and regulations in so that if the worker feels threatened, there should be a number they can call. Whether it's the police or something where they know that they're gonna get instant response, not, oh,
Or as opposed
really?
to, you had it coming, you asked for this.
Right.
And those type of,
That was negotiated before, that was the agreement. You know, and to allow the boundaries and the consent to be actually followed through and taken care of.
But how would, outside of the consenting parties, and let's say the police is called, how is it believable what the terms were or are? Like if you say, well, you know, let's say something happens, police is called, and one person is saying, he promised to da 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 da. Well, he promised. That's not what she said. You know, how is that decided, or how do you know there's been trouble, or how's any of that?
I feel like all those decisions would only be, those conversations would only be had if it was like, I'm a sex worker and I work at such and such, like they're out of like an office. If it was at that point, which is not, and probably it isn't gonna be for a very long time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's gonna be, if you, like, we went to Vegas, somebody had bud in their bag. The bag handlers took the bud. You're not calling the airline to report that your bud was taken because you were taking it there illegally. So
Right.
even though it's decriminalized, it's still not something that they're gonna be like, oh, let me call the police because you promised me a blowjob and you only gave me, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I don't think
And
those
Mhm.
calls are gonna even be made.
And it's even more that there are so many Johns that don't respect the worker, whether they be trans, bi, gay. Most Johns don't respect the worker, and the worker's life is usually taken into risk every single time they do a scene. So if we had places like in Amsterdam where districts or areas that people would know to go and the networkers would know that it's safe to be there because there's a big red button in the room that I can press and there's gonna be a security guard that's gonna come in and I'm not at the John's house and I'm not at a private hotel with the John. So there's no chance of me stealing from the John. The
Right.
John is locking their stuff up.
Right.
And those are the things that's gonna start to happen is once it gets decriminalized, the Johns are gonna be like, well, I don't wanna pay this now. Instead of just not paying them, they're gonna just blame them for other things.
Well, that is true.
And we need to protect them from that. Because they're doing an amazing service to society.
Okay.
I wonder how would you put that on your taxes if you're going to be doing taxes? You know, hooker, humper,
It would just be sex worker.
sex worker.
Sex worker.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You probably wonder if they pay by their O's, how many organs. Or if the organs are they deductible? You know, stuff like that. Those are you know, how do you
In a
itemize?
perfect world, you'd be able to deduct your orgasm.
And it's
Yeah.
the same way as just defining what a sex worker is.
You know.
Because technically, a cuddler is considered a sex worker as far as the state's concerned, and she's not doing any sex.
Oh,
A
wow.
femdom who's not having any sex, that's just literally whipping a guy with a whip, is considered a sex worker in most states.
Wow.
Because it's a fetish and then it's seen as something sexual,
Sure.
even if there's nothing sexual going down.
Hmm. I wonder if those things would be itemized though. Itemize everything that you do.
That would be an interesting time to be an accountant, to be doing their paperwork, you know what I mean? Checking out the itemizations, and receipts from like sex toy shops and stuff like that.
I mean, we need to come up with benefits for them. They need to go to get health insurance because we want our sex workers to be healthy. You know, they should be able to get Medicaid or Medicare or whatever, depending on their age. You know, they should be able to get into the system and not be shunned because of what they do.
I think there should be an entertainment. I guess that be under TNA or it's something.
That's gone.
I guess.
That detection's gone.
Who knows?
Unless you make a lot of money, that's gone.
Exactly. Oh man. So anyway, we are actually gonna come right back on Triple Radio Show. We're gonna come back to talk about some more things. One thing that we're gonna talk about is, do people have the right to tell other people not to come to a funeral? You know, something like that.
I think it depends on if you're purple or not.
Okay, well, we'll find that out when we come right back. Triple Radio Show, no alternative means psychedelic masturbation. Your boy Will B. K, Jenna G, Hardy Brooklyn. We'll be right back on S.STREET Media. Be right back. All right, I'm coming right back.
Where is it?
Yeah, the whole sex worker thing, that's like, really